Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. Thank you so much for all your well wishes. I am feeling better, although I still have a cough. I'm hoping it goes away soon. Guys, if there was ever proof that karma exists, you will find it in this video. This is hilarious. There's a lot in here. You don't want to miss it. Let's jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. All right, we're going to start off today with Princess Catherine. She has returned to work. Remember, it was just a few days ago that an intruder went over the wall at Windsor Castle onto castle grounds. A security alarm was triggered, and the individual was obviously swiftly apprehended, but the Prince and Princess of Wales were at their cottage home on the Windsor estate with their children when this happened. But a few days after that, Catherine held an early years meeting at Windsor Castle. This happened this past Wednesday. This was a private meeting. It was not attended by the press, and it was centered around the Early Years Initiative, which we know was launched by the princess through the Center for Early Childhood in 2021, which is a cause close to her heart. I just absolutely love that. All right, we're going to move on to King Charles, who did some investitures, and one of them was Sir Billy Boston. He is the first sportsman to receive a knighthood for services to the rugby league. He is apparently considered one of the best rugby league players of all time. He scored a British record of 571 tries and 488 appearances. I just think that's fabulous. Now, this was not the only investiture. This was looked like a private one, but this was the king's 5th investiture this year and the 15th for the royal family in 2025. He did a few others, but in a different room, a different venue. I mean, still at the palace, but Sir Lloyd Grossman, the Right Honorable Dame Emily Thornberry with her husband Christopher Nugie, Dame Jacqueline Wilson. This all took place at Buckingham Palace, but there was one other that happened that people were a little divided on. Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, also known as Sir Sadiq Khan, got knighted. I'm not sure what to say about this. People are really split down the middle. He was reelected for his 3rd term in May of 2024, and he is the first mayor to receive this honor. I don't know enough about him and the UK and what's going on there to make an opinion, but I can only say that a lot of people were really upset. What I read online was that people feel he's an Islamist who destroyed London, and that this act encapsulates what the UK has become, and that the king rewarded failure, division, and colonization. I don't know enough to make a comment on that. Not political, people. That's why I'm not making a comment. I'm just reporting. Now, next up, the Duke of Edinburgh is going to be going to Canada. Pretty cool. He is going to be attending its 150th anniversary celebrations on June 25th. He'll be in Toronto on June 28th. Then he's supposed to go to Ottawa. He's going to be all over the place. Love to see it. I'll be reporting it when it happens. Let's keep moving. All right, let's move on. This is off the royals, but I think this was definitely newsworthy. Cressida Bonas had her 2nd baby, a little girl, and she and her husband, property investor Harry Wentworth Stanley, gave their daughter the middle name Pandora in honor of Cressida's half-sister, who fought cancer for 24 years before she finally passed. So her name is Delphina Pandora Wentworth Stanley. Oh, that's an amazing name. Now, we know that Cressida had struggled to conceive a 2nd child after they had their first son, Wilbur, and she fully admitted that they used IVF and a frozen embryo. But I think it's just fabulous. Good for her. I'm glad that she's so happy. She deserves a slice of happy after dating Harry. All right, let's move on. All right, let's go back now to the Duchess of Edinburgh. Remember, she was in Northampton. I told you they start dripping pictures out. Well, apparently, while she was there, she also visited the Growing Together community project at Blackthorn Good Neighbors Nursery, which is run by the charity Growing Together. You can see on the right there, she unveiled a plaque and the kids gave her some beautiful paper flowers. I just love her. Some other pictures came out also. You may not know that her visit to Northampton was to pay tribute to a recovery from a 1675 fire. Very interesting. So she started her visit at the Northampton Museum and Art Gallery, where she met with members of the Great Fire History Group, and she tried out a new educational app that explores the fire's timeline and impact. And she was also presented with costumes designed to reflect the fire, which is very interesting. It's going to be in the carnival this year. She then went through a key area of the town center that's linked to the fire history, including All Saints Church, that was rebuilt with the support from King Charles II after the fire destroyed much of the original medieval church. And she learned about the architectural significance of the church, its role in the town's recovery, and its link to the annual Apple Day commemorations. And she also visited the newly regenerated Market Square. And she met students from St. Luke's Primary School. There you go. All right, we're going to go back to Princess Catherine now. She did her first public engagement a few days ago for this month, and she was at the Victoria and Albert East Storehouse. Now, this place is open to the public. 2 weeks ago it opened, and it gives free public access to the museum's world-famous collection of more than 600,000 treasures from every creative discipline, including fashion, film, visual art, design, and performance. You know, this is right up Catherine's alley. So, of course, she showed up in one of her gorgeous suits, which is perfectly tailored. She looks absolutely gorgeous. And I also love this chunky necklace she's wearing. Now, when she arrived, of course, she was given a behind-the-scenes tour, and she was learning about all the work that goes into conservation and displaying some of the amazing objects that were there. That it was just, they had everything from art to clothing to screens, you name it, it was there. She was supposed to be there for 2 hours, and the visit ran over by 30 minutes because we know what an art lover she is. Apparently, this museum spans 4 levels. It's bigger than 30 basketball courts. It's a new kind of museum, they're saying, that gives visitors the chance to see behind the scenes of a working museum. You can see how and why the objects get collected, see how they're cared for, and, just look at the stuff. They have everything there, from blue stage cloth objects from Franklin Lloyd Wright's office. I mean, they have all kinds of stuff there. It's very interesting. What the article says is that whenever possible, they have removed the barriers so visitors can get really closer to objects than ever before. Interesting. The collections access team have all been recruited from the local area, and Catherine got the chance to talk with a quote-unquote order and object service where you can book a free appointment to view an object up close and have a one-on-one session with a member of the team. How amazing is that? Don't forget that Catherine studied for a degree in art history at the University of St. Andrews. So this is pretty cool. Catherine, who, by the way, is the patron of this, also joined staff collecting new photos for the archive and the online search portal. And they needed to photograph a 1943 ballet shoe worn by Alice Markova at a performance of Giselle. And she'd actually signed the inside of the sole and penned a message. You saw the picture a minute ago of her looking at it through the camera. And Catherine goes, "My God, it's so small." And she says, "I love the fact that you can see the handwriting." Now, one of the more interesting things that she saw was the largest Picasso work in the world that measures 30 meters by 40 meters. Can you imagine? That's square meters, by the way. So Tristram Hunt, who is director, walked her around, and she got to see just amazing amounts of art, which, again, is right up her alley. She met with the director, Tristram Hunt, the deputy director, Tim Reeve, chair of the V&A, Baroness Shafiq, and the director of the V&A East, Gus Casely Hayford, in the storehouse. Wonderful. People were just so happy to see her. She looked gorgeous. And of course, a big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. Let's move on. All right, next up, we have Trooping the Color coming up, and they're saying, who's going to be on the balcony? Well, let me tell you, it's going to be Prince William, Princess Catherine, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, Prince Louis, Prince Edward, Duchess Sophie. We still don't know if Louise or James will be up there. We know Princess Anne will be there, Sir Tim Lawrence, as well as the King and Queen. We're also expecting the king's first cousin once removed, Prince Richard. We're also expecting the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, the Duke of Kent, the other Prince Edward. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Let's move on. Now, this is interesting. I told you that Beatrice and Eugenie had to make a decision, and I think they sided with the monarchy, not with Harry and Meghan. And so it's being reported that they are, quote, waiting in the wings for William to make a major move when he becomes king, because he has a quote unquote renewed vision of what the monarchy should look like under his reign. We know that King Charles has had the slimmed down monarchy, which has relied heavily on the king's siblings. And it's being, supported by non-working members of the firm, Beatrice and Eugenie, as well as Zara and Mike Tyndall. But it looks like they're going to get a bigger role. They are valuable assets. And once William is king, they're going to step up to the plate. Okay, good for them. Okay, let's move into our Harry Meghan stuff. The office of CB on Twitter found this very interesting. She did a reverse search for the original image of Meghan holding her baby. And as you can see, the picture on the left was massively photoshopped. She had extra freckles placed on her face. Her ear is missing. The baby's hand is backwards. It's not backwards in the other one. So what does that tell you? Okay, now this story I found interesting. I already reported to you that India Hicks, who is the king's goddaughter, I believe it is, she did a podcast with Brooke Shields where Brooke Shields talked about how she had to interrupt Meghan during that SXSW panel because she kept saying, when I was 11, when I was 11, when I was 11. And she said her story just wasn't resonating, so she had to cut her off. And Meghan was so unhappy. Well, apparently it is no longer available on the website. When you click the link, it says page not found. So essentially, she's removed it. The question is, why? Just as an FYI, we know why it was removed. I was making a joke. The Sussex Squad. That's right. Brooke Shields and India faced online attacks from the Sussex Squad. They targeted them with offensive language. It was disgusting. And so they just thought it's not worth the issue. It's not worth the trouble. And so they took it down. But that just shows you that Meghan is a bully. Her followers are bullies. I wouldn't have taken it down. I would have let it stand. It doesn't matter really, I guess, at this point, because the interview is out into the public. And once it's out there, I don't care if you do take stuff down. Once it's out there, it's out there. Moving on, I thought this was hilarious because instead of going to another paid for PR event where she was going to be given another paid for award, Meghan's event is being canceled. Remember, there was a woke gala to honor Meghan as a, quote, champion of underserved communities, but it's been scrapped because of the ICE riots. So she was going to try to rival Trooping the Color. And this is almost like karma coming back. Like the gods are saying, you know what? We've had enough of this. Guests actually paid $1,500 to see her give a speech, which we know would have been a Mimi word salad anyway. So the whole thing's been scrapped. There's a heavy National Guard presence. It's horrible. So they've decided to postpone it. Let's be honest, she and Harry had nothing in the hopper. She's been simply putting out these ridiculous Instagram posts. You never hear anything else about their charity work. She needed something. Her attorney, who happens to be on the chair of the board for this particular event and is the one who put her up for it, Mr. Genow. I mean, that's the only reason she was even doing it anyway. It's literally a joke. So she's lost the award. Well, she hasn't lost the award. She's lost the ability to try to outshine the king. I just find that so karmic. Ugh. All right, next up, supposedly Meghan's wine is coming out in a few weeks, and she doesn't care about if she sells it in the UK because remember, that's not where the money is. But let me tell you where the money is. It's in the memes. Enjoy. Okay, next up, I also found this on Twitter from RF Observer. Very interesting. They found some documents online. As you can see on the top, Rachel, Meghan Markle, Engelson versus Trevor Engelson. This is her divorce thing. But what's interesting is the dates. The final judgment wasn't put in until 2018. How odd is that? All kinds of weird stuff going on. Okay, let's keep going. So we know Harry basically is becoming a house husband, dropping off, picking up kids. He's not involved in Sentabala anymore. African Parks is in the toilet. You don't hear anything about Archewell. All he really has left is Invictus, and even that's becoming an issue. So suddenly, out of the blue, Invictus releases some sort of a video that shows competitors doing stuff from 6 months ago. With Harry going, "We are here in Vancouver in the spirit of unity. Show the world your fearlessness. Show the world your grandeur and your attempted victory. Show them while you are Invictus, blah, blah, blah." The question is, why is that being released now, freaking 6 months later? Very interesting. The final report was released that shows there's a 5.5 million legacy fund, a 63.2 million balanced budget, and 81.1 million in economic impact in Canada, and all these historic firsts. What they're not telling you about, or what's not being discussed, and eventually I'm sure it'll come to light, is how much of that money went to pay for Harry and Meghan's travel, security, food, her clothing, because we know what happened in Germany. And don't forget, with all that money, they could have helped veteran retired Navy diver Scott Snow. He was on Invictus Team Canada. He fell and was injured at the Invictus Games. He's out thousands of dollars because he found out that he was not covered by medical insurance for the injuries he sustained while representing his country. That happened while he was in Dusseldorf, Germany. So it's been a year, 2 surgeries later. He's having to live in an assisted living because there's stairs in his home. He can't afford some of the therapy he needs, and Invictus isn't helping him at all. Yeah, but hey, let's give that money to multi-millionaires Harry and Meghan for their, top-tier travel and hotel. All right, the next thing, I just had to touch on it. Apparently, Meghan's baby mama twerking thing was compared to Princess Catherine's regal appearances in public. We already knew how this was going to come out. They're saying that Catherine is pure, true class, a real royal princess, and Meghan Markle's a disgrace, which, I agree. Now, finally, people are saying that if Meghan really wanted to, get out there and work for gender equality and women's rights and all of that kind of stuff that she's always harping on about, she would have stayed as a senior working royal. And the reason for that is because that's what Sophie does. Sophie works for gender equality and violence against women, and she's really making a difference in the world. Unlike Meghan, who gives a lot of speeches but really isn't affecting any change whatsoever. I told you, Sophie's fabulous. All right, you guys know what to do. Hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. If you've already done that, double check, make sure you're still subscribed. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, Gettr, Rumble, email, a link to my father's book, which is still for sale on Amazon, a link to my second channel, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.